G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with another FIA Nations Cup combination from the exhibition series currently occurring in Gran Turismo Sport mode as of right now. And we get into the lobby and first thing we notice is DS, CS and BS players along with my SS rating. So that tells you one thing. My ratings have dropped. Namely, my SR has gone down into the 80s. I think it was at like 81, thanks to an old Monza daily race. I did one iteration of that race and absolutely tanked my DR down to 80. So we're in a lower level lobby, possibly like 6th or 7th split or something. Very low down, but we're just going to cut straight to the chase. This is the qualifying session here. We come across the line with a 2:15.9. And that puts us very quickly into pole position by 1.7 seconds. Very, very clear cut there. So 1.7 seconds off my time is second position here. And then we come to the race now. If you haven't noticed by now, it's a one-make Dodge Viper Group 3 at Spa in the dry. Standing start here at the start of the race here. And, well, very quickly, as soon as the lights go out, we finish 15 seconds in the lead. So, well, have a look at all those penalties down the field. I obviously got through penalty free, as did the guy in 8th. But we got ourselves a Nations Cup victory there. One interesting thing to note here, if we have a look at the number of points I collect, 56. Yeah, 56 points for a victory. Not great. Normally I can get to around 200 in second split up the front of the grid or mid-pack top split. Obviously, needless to say, that's not the result I'm after here. I want to be able to put in a good result, especially considering that lobby there, I was severely overmatched. I was matched with players way slower than me. But we've gone for the next session here. Top split, much better. You can see we've got VLX, GTR, Metal Gear, in 3rd and 4th. Pretty good indicators. We are in top split. We're at the back of the field in terms of DR here, which is normally where we land when we do get into top split. So that's what happened here. So hopefully this can go a little bit better. If we have a look in the warm-up there, I'm meeting a new R4M member in the name of Jack25. R4M Jack25, so hopefully we can come across him and work together in the race there. Nice to have a teammate on board. But finally, we're going to go out for the qualifying session here, and I am finally going to show you a fast lap here of Spa in this car here, the Dodge Viper SRT GT3R, so the Group 3 Dodge Viper here. Coming through the first flying lap, however, up through Eau Rouge and over Radeon, we just cut the top of turn 3 by the most minuscule margin, pick ourselves up a penalty, so we completely bail out of that lap, as that would have ruined qualifying times there, so we have to start afresh. Norm XC did a similar thing there, but we finally come around for our qualifying lap here at Spa in the Dodge Viper. So coming on the pit straight, very short pit straight, into turn 1. Where do we brake? Looking at the brake markers on the left-hand side, it's just after the 100-meter board. I choose second gear. You could probably go to first, but then back up to second to get rotation, and it's a little bit squirmy on the exit. As long as you control that, that's no worries at all. Eau Rouge Radeon, turns 2, 3, and 4, technically, I suppose. It's so close to flat out, but you can see I do have to lift, and I'm pretty sure if you get the line precisely dead right, it is flat out through there. You see we've got the slipstream off Rid 1F1 who came out of the pit lane, so we're going to be flashing him to get out of the way. He does do that indeed, so next going to focus on braking into the Gomme chicane, braking just on the start of the curb on the left hand side, third gear for these corners here. You can cut on these curbs a little bit, one wheel or two wheels up on each curb, and then you're just flowing through these S's down into turn 7, down the hill towards the understeery hairpin of turn 8, Bruxelles or Rivage, it's known as, braking on the start of the curb on the left-hand side of the circuit there, and coming into turn 9, no-name corner. I don't really have a braking point for that corner there, but you can see we did brake a little bit early, so you can extend that a bit. Poo on now, braking just after the 50-meter board. We're on these very grippy soft tyres, so that pushes the braking marker to after the 50, down one gear, and then straight back onto the power to follow it out to the outside into the Fug chicane, now braking just before the 50 metre board. Third gear, we've got to sacrifice this turn here to get a better angle through the second part of the chicane as it leads out onto a straight here in towards Campus, turn 14, braking just on the start of the curb on the left hand side or just slightly before it, and then coming in through Stavilo, turn 15. It's just flat out if you get it dead right. We had a small lift heading through there. You want to get two wheels on the inside curb to kind of pull the car around the corner. We get an okay run through there, up through turn 16 into turn 17 of Blanchimont, half the car onto the green, little bit of a lift, but we get through there fairly okay. Once again, Blanchimont is just flat out when you get it right. Bus stop now, braking just after the 150 metre board. There's a white line that goes across the road, braking just right around where that comes across. Second gear, through the chicane, gently on the power on the exit, coming up towards the finish line. It's a 1:16.1. So a little bit slower than my previous qualifying time, but only by about 2/10. 1:15.9 is what we set. But as always with these combinations, let's just enjoy the introduction. Beautiful as always, and let's meet the cars on the grid now. So we know something about Spa here is any rolling starts here are absolutely shocking for field spread. As if you're even in third position on the grid on a rolling start. You have to go through the chicane an extra time at the start of the race. First and second start after the chicane, so they don't have to trundle through it at the start of the race. So I think that's why they selected a grid start here. So we're going to have all 18 cars here piling into turn 1 and up through Eau Rouge and Radeon. So we'll see what kind of chaos that ensues there. We get the launch on Norm ahead of us. Looking around the outside for turn 1 here. Up the inside, 3 abreast through turn 1, and we just leave enough room for that car on the exit there. I think it's Old Mate on our left hand side there. Norm just slots in behind us now, running side by side up through Eau Rouge and Radeon. One of us had, well, ideally one of us needed to yield there, but we just muscle our way through. But we end up cutting Radeon a bit, and we end up wide over the top of the hill there. Is that going to lead us to a penalty? We will see shortly. Get a penalty up ahead, and I think by some absolute miracle we've got through there penalty free, and we've made up a couple of positions at the start of the race. But you can see there's plenty of cars up ahead of myself here. 4, 5 cars immediately ahead of me here. Looking around the outside of Diego here. We're going to be able to get that done. Not quite through turn 7. We weren't able to get the power down. As we're heading down towards turn 8 for the first time, someone's understeering a little bit. JCD understeering wide through turn 8, but he slots back into position there. And then we're heading through turn 9. Get through there nicely. We're going to duck into the slipstream of Diego there. So we've actually got an okay start as well. You might have just a little while ago, yeah, back when we went through Eau Rouge right at the start of the race, I was actually going to back out of that one, but I had a car right behind me and I was not able to do so, so I wanted the guy on the left to do that, but he didn't either. We led to a bit of an awkward moment there. JCD wide through Pouon, dirt on his tyres, and I'm able to get the position quite clearly up into 8th position at this point here. Right, so strategy of this race here, all 3 tyres are available for use, but you have to use the medium and the hard tyres. So the soft tyre, not mandated, but we do a stint on the soft tyre, of course. 12 laps. What I decided to do, I was starting mid-pack, so I went onto the medium tyres. I don't want to go onto the hard tyres, because at the start of the race, you'll be very slow. We'll come back to strategy, actually. You can see this is a pivotal point in the race here. VLX GTR is off the outside of Blanchimont there. I wasn't able to see how that happened as we just rounded through turn 16 to see the car way on the outside of the grass, and the way he rejoined just before the bus stop chicane, absolute perfect rejoin by VLX GTR there. He is a top split race winner, quite clearly understands sort of the more, you know, the more mature points of a race here. You know, like you rejoin. You don't rejoin at 90 degrees onto the racing line because you'll cause an accident. You rejoin gradually, and it was into a braking zone too, so cars were slowing down. Very good rejoin is what I'm saying there. But that drops VLX GTR behind, so that's a very, you know, a player of extremely high caliber now behind us. That's going to do us good for DR. So, of course, you know, on our way up to A+ rating here, so we, you know, we want to aim on keeping our DR as high as possible, but we get through the section here, and we're in 7th position at this point here. So what I wanted to focus on now is the gap to myself and VLX GTR behind. You can see he's 8/10ths behind at this point here. We are on the medium tyre, I assume, because he started at the front of the grid. He was on soft tyres, so either he's going to have the pace on me and he's going to overtake, or those soft tyres have begun to drop off and we're going to be able to stay ahead of him. So let's see what happens as we head through there. There's a little bit of contact and he gets onto that AstroTurf on the exit of turn 15 there, and he's wide out onto the dirt, or the sort of the unused tarmac runoff that is dirty, and you can see heading through Blanchimont here on the exit, somehow we pick ourselves up a half-second penalty. You know, going back and looking at that footage, I think it was for running a little bit too wide just before Blanchimont onto that green AstroTurf. So you can see we got a little bit complacent there by, you know, failing to adhere to the track limits on the entry to Blanchimont. So we're going to have to be careful. 4 wheels onto that green, and obviously there is a half-second penalty to be collected by anyone that does so. And JCD makes his way past as we serve that penalty on the Kemmel Straight. By the end of lap 4 here, he's actually streaking away a gap a little bit, 1.8 seconds ahead. VLX GTR 8/10ths behind still. And this is going to be an interesting lap here. Okay, this is where I want to focus on the gap between myself and VLX GTR. Dylan Lindgren goes into the pits. I think that was the pole sitter. He's into the pits, so he's now behind. We're up into 7th position at this point here. So coming through the start of this lap, I assume GTR, like I said before, is on soft tyres. Lap 5 on the soft tyres, the tyres are very worn. Essentially, soft tyres, you don't want to do more than 5 laps on. So this is going to be the last lap for him on those soft tyres. This is going to be the last lap on my medium tyres, actually, as I'm going to do a 5-lap stint on mediums, then soft, and then the final 2 laps on the hard tyre. Coming down Kemmel Straight, GTR has my slipstream. He gets to about 3/10ths behind, but the braking zone comes up thick and fast there, and he actually gains a lot of ground under braking there. And you can see he's just poking the nose of his little, you know, indicator arrow into the bottom of my radar. But we get the better exit off turn 7 there. You can see he just goes out of sight on the radar, but catches up once again under braking. And on the exit of the hairpin, we have a little bit of advantage coming through there, but the straight is not very long. Coming through No Name, we get a massive advantage. Have a look at that gap, 5.5 tenths. It was about 4 tenths just before the corner on the exit. It was climbing up to 5.5 tenths on the exit of No Name there, heading through Pouon, still 5 tenths behind at this point here, heading into the Lafug chicane, or just Lafug chicane, I guess that's saying the Fug chicane. But have a look at GTR behind. Once again, just can't get the exit. And have a look at this, braking just before the curb on the left-hand side. Slow it for the apex, onto the power gently, and we don't release that throttle. The indicator arrow of GTR absolutely supersonic speeds his way out of the bottom of my radar there. So at this point in the race here, VLX GTR may be quicker. I think he's definitely quicker than me at this point, but I'm just focusing my energy on the exits of the corners, which is where it counts in this game. So much lap time is made up by just nailing the exits of the corners. But I just wanted to show that it was just interesting that the fact I could keep a top split race winner behind on a harder compound of tyre, given his tyres would have been very old and of comparable pace to mine at the time. But it's just interesting to see. So we come into the pits. No refueling in this race here. We were burning heaps of fuel at the start, and we're coming into our pit box here with the lovely Nesquik liveried Dodge Viper there. Very interesting milk flavouring livery to go along with very well, I was going to say to go along with a very interesting combination. It's not really that interesting, is it? But we come out of the pits in in ninth position. Don't know how I got fourth out of that one, but we come out right ahead of R4 and Jack 25, and he was looking for the overtake. He had the overspeed going into Eau Rouge, but he just backed off sensibly, heading up towards the Cobb chicane. Someone is serving a penalty up ahead, but it goes back to the racing line. Just this kind of might come out of that ghost there. Gets a little bit awkward, and Jack just tags the back of us, probably braking a little bit too late, being narrow for the corner. So probably just missing that braking point slightly, but it's not to worry. I get through penalty free. On the exit here, we actually look behind. He got himself a second penalty for that. So that is something to note about the current penalty system at the moment. It seems to heavily penalise people that want to attempt to, you know, I'm doing air quotes here, bump draft, because that wasn't really a bump draft. It was just a mistake that, you know, lost us both time, and he ended up getting a penalty for it. Even the slightest tap on someone's rear bumper can get you a 1 second penalty. It's stupid. It's the worst iteration of the penalty system I think I've ever had the displeasure of racing against. We get the underlap from JCD going through Pouan, and then coming into the flex chicane, he just completely edges us out onto the curb there, and we get a 1 second penalty for colliding with another car. Absolutely stupid penalties happening here at Spa this time. You can see I'm flashing. You might see the light on the back of his car flashing a little bit, because I was quite irritated at this at him for doing that. He puts on the left indicator, so I assume he's going to let me past. So we're going to go around the outside of turn 16, but there's a little bit of awkward contact there. I think that was the both of us contributing to that there. But he does give us the position. I mean, we're going to serve the 1 second penalty on the next lap, so he's going to get his way back past. So, yeah, look, bit of a frustrating turn of events there, but another turn of events, actually, JCD goes into the pit lane, so yes. So he, I guess, you know, giving that position back to us did lose him time overall. We're still going to serve the penalty and lose time, but I guess compared to JCD there, we sort of remain a little even. But that's kind of what I'm talking about. So he was moving over to the left-hand side in the braking zone. Moving in the braking zone, a big no-no. I guess technically it may have been diagonal braking over to the left-hand side, not really moving, but I was very much side by side with him. He should have been using the radar and giving me space on the exit. There's, you know, that slight bit of tap out onto the curb, almost put me beyond the curb and would have put me in, therefore, in the barrier. Obviously not on racing close quarters with people. But there was quite a large skip there as JCD, once the group behind went into the pits, it kind of left me in sort of my own gap. You know, my own little pocket of air, no cars around, about 3 seconds ahead and 3 seconds or 3 to 4 seconds ahead and behind to the next car. So there was just 2 laps of me cleanly lapping on my own, setting my personal best of a 2:17.777 on lap 8. So that would have been the most optimal lap of me on my own in clear air with the, you know, best tyre wear I could possibly have in the given situation. But over the course of those 2 clean laps, we've been catching up to Diego ahead. So Diego may have started on the soft and is now on the medium tyres, which may be why we have the pace advantage over him at this point here. But concurrently, if we have a look behind, DB007 behind, he was the car that was about 4 seconds behind me when the group behind went into the pits. He's now also got 6 seconds behind, so we've got a bit of an interesting prospect here. I'm faster than the car ahead, but then the car behind is faster than me. So, if you kind of have a look, you can see we are close to Diego at this point. Actually, do we go for the move into the chicane here? No, I couldn't quite decide what he was going to do there. That was a very awkward moment there. I had to swerve to the left at the last second as it was a very, you know, the defense was kind of 70% of the way there. I thought he might have opened up the gap just on the, you know, just on the braking zone. I might have been able to nip up the inside, but I wasn't quite able to do that, so it was quite a hairy moment. They're having to swerve left at the last second to avoid making contact, and as a result, 007 has got very close behind. But the point I was going to make before is that the gaps between myself and 5th and then the guy behind me were closing at fairly similar rates. So it was going to lead to us sort of coming together as a 3 at the same point on the track, and that's kind of what's happening here. So Diego, clear air, but he doesn't have slipstream. I have slipstream off Diego, and then 007 has slipstream off me. I pull out of the slipstream, and 007 remains in the slipstream of Diego, and you can see on the entry to Le Comte Chicane we kind of all meet as a threesome here, and you can see the three of us trying to occupy the same bit of the racetrack. It's not quite going to work like that, but thankfully for me, the slowest car of the three of us, Diego, I assume on medium tyres at the moment, has slotted in between myself and 007. So what I can hope for here is that Diego just keeps 007 behind him long enough for me to streak out a little bit of a gap. As I know I'm faster than Diego, as long as 007 cannot pass Diego, he's going to be absolutely hemorrhaging time behind. And hopefully, through the last sort of phases of the pit stops here, I'm going to be able to keep the position ahead of 007 thanks to him losing so much time. He's actually picked himself a 1 second penalty. I suppose that would be from, you know, just touching the back of Diego, probably going through Pouhon, into the braking zone of Pouhon, as a driver rather, like 007 may have more confidence to brake later into Pouhon than someone like Diego, who clearly hasn't got the pace at this point here in the race here. So if we're going through turn 15, let's have a look behind and see the sort of happenings occurring there. Diego's off onto that AstroTurf. As soon as you get one tyre on the AstroTurf on the exit of 15 there, you're pretty much a goner at that point. So 007 has lost a little bit of time there, 8 tenths behind, or he's 8 tenths behind me at this point here in the race. He does, however, have a little bit of a penalty to serve. We're not going to see how this gap equalises until a little bit later, or 2 laps at the end of the race, as that was our 5th and final lap on our soft tyres. We're going into the pits now for the final 2 laps on the hard tyre, of course, one of the mandated tyres. We do have to select this tyre at some point in the race. I decided to go for the 552. Some people may very well go for 6 laps on either soft or medium, although that's going to be quite a sketchy lap in order to reduce that hard stint down to one lap. But we decided to go for the 5.5 and then the 2, as I tend to find hard tyres, once they come up to temperature, they do have, you know, they do have grip to offer, and I think that is, you know, that the grip they have to offer once they're warmed up is you know, on the pace enough to kind of equal a 6th or a 6th lap on either soft or medium tyres once they're very warm. But you can see as we come out of the pits, JCD behind, he does have my slipstream, but we go slightly defensive. I am actually lifting off the throttle here at this point. I do let him pass. I think what I decided I wanted to do at this point was remain in the slipstream of JCD to help carry me while my tyres come up to temperature here, and then hopefully that can then allow me to try and overtake JCD. But as you can see, coming out of the exit of turn 7 there, JCD just laid that power down much better than I could, and we're streaking out 6 tenths ahead at this point here. So I think, you know, while letting him pass, you could say it was a mistake, but I think it was just the inevitable. I'm on the hard tyre at the moment. I'm going to be one of the slower cars on the track at this present time. It was probably just the smart thing to do to let JCD pass there. But for the rest of this race, we're just going to remain behind here. Hopefully we can kind of stick to the back of JCD and maybe go for an overtake on the final lap. I'm not sure what tyres he's on at this point here. Probably, definitely more grippy ones, as he was able to quite clearly lay the power down much better than I could out of the hairpin at the start of the lap, or the start of the second sector. Heading onto the back straight up towards Blanchimont. Have a look at that gap. It's streaking out 7 tenths right on the brink of slipstream range here, but it just begins to close down again as we begin to pick up that edge of the slipstream there. Leader is in Twitchy GT. Quite a good job from him to be up in the lead. We'll see where he comes out of the pits, because it'll be interesting to see. You might remember Twitchy GT. He was in the lead firmly and convincingly at the final race of the manufacturer's official season at Tokyo Expressway. About halfway through the race, he completely disconnected out of the lead. So him, you know, seeing him back up in that top position right at the end of the race, I think it's, you know, very well quite deserved for Twitchy GT to be there. So that's fair play from him. Exit of turn 1 on the final lap, JCD breaks that slipstream, and that was the end of the race really. I was able to kind of keep with him as his tyres began to drop off, but I wasn't able to get close enough to get a move again. And that, you know, we come across the line in 7th position. We started 11th, if I recall correctly. So up into 7th, of course, in a top split race, moving forward, always a good thing. Couple of irritating penalties there. One completely my fault, the half second at the start of the race. But then the 1 second from being kind of edged out, not really any fault of my own, was the frustrating one. I wasn't very happy with JCD with that one, as he ended up, you know, finishing ahead of me. But, you know, it is what it is. Maybe without that 1 second, I could have finished ahead of JCD, but, you know, he did have the pace advantage as I came out of the pit, so maybe not. But, look, we had car number 19, finished in 7th, 214 points. My personal best for the current season. A much better showing from me there. That's, you know, that's quite up there with very close to the maximum I've ever achieved. But I'm going to show you the lobby afterwards, because, you know, there was a little bit of, you know, back and forth between VLX GTR and Twitchy. So VLX was just like, just push me off, yeah, to Twitchy. You know, I was questioning JCD about the, you know, being edged out at the fuck chicane, but that's not really what we're focusing on here. Twitchy GT claims that GTR left him room going through Blanchimont. I don't really think Blanchimont is a good place to go for an overtake. I can't imagine someone like GTR, you know, leaving a door open in order to invite a move up the inside of Blanchimont. The chicane is a much better place, or turn 1, if you're going to let someone pass. So, very interesting. GTR says there was no room, you pushed me wide to make room, and then, you know, a little bit of an expletive there. And then Twitchy says, if you leave me a car's width, the grass wouldn't have pushed me out. He just claimed before that there was room left for him, but then he says there that if he did leave room, it wouldn't have happened. So that kind of suggests to me that Twitchy, you know, kind of forced the issue there. But we are going to analyse the replay. You can see Idiot getting thrown around a bit. But this is the replay between the two of them on the opening lap here. Very close battle. We're going to follow, you know, most of the first lap all the way up to Blanchimont. As, you know, when we saw GTR go off the track on lap 1, that was the incident that they were referring to in the lobby afterwards. There's a little bit of flashing by Twitchy GT onto the back. Clearly, you know, he's being held up a little bit. They're both on soft tyres, I checked when I looked at this footage. So I think GTR is just a little bit rattled at this point here, not quite having the supreme comfort that you might have here. He switches to the inside last second, looking up the inside at the chicane, not the place to do it. He just tags the back of GTR and just knocks him sideways a little bit, gets a little bit of oversteer coming through there, so not quite the place, and not quite, you know, that's quite a dodgy move that Twitchy was trying to do there. But we're coming onto the back straight here. GTR actually has a 1 second penalty. Not sure what that was from. If that was from the contact at the fuck chicane, that is obviously very unfortunate. But this is where it happens here. Have a look. He goes to the inside. There's not really room there. He just edges him off and he just glides off the track into the grass. And yeah, look, I mean, if I was in that position there, I would not think that that was room being left. He was taking a racing line. He wasn't, you know, there was no indicators on. There was nothing to indicate to go up the inside. You know, he was turning left. GTR was turning left. There wasn't really space there, although I do think the incident was exacerbated. As you can see, GTR kind of didn't really react. He just kept foot planted and didn't increase steering angle. But, you know, ultimately, I don't really think there was any space there. I think Twitchy was just frustrated that he was getting held up. As you can see, he goes for that move, half the car on the grass, and then GTR just glides off the track. You know, it's not a clean move. It's not what we like to see in top split, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably on GTR's side here. That's not, yeah, I mean, look at that. There's no room there. He just poked the nose up the inside, half the car was off the track, and then, yeah, like he said, because he was half off the track, he had half the amount of grip, and he understeered into GTR. I mean, it's quite clear cut for me. Twitchy went for a little bit of a move that wasn't on at a place on the track where a move typically isn't on anyway. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. I think it's interesting to look at the replays afterwards, which is what we did there. But that's going to be the end of this one. I do hope you enjoyed that race for me. Look, I was actually quite happy with that result in the end, you know, moving up from 11th into 7th in top split and being able to kind of keep ahead of GTR at one point on the harder tyre. You know, I was quite happy with my performance there, and I'm quite happy with 214 points. Do hit that like button if you enjoyed also, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.